Jack Elam's face is one of the most instantly recognizable in Hollywood history. That unmistakable, slightly wild, lazy eye that could freeze you in your tracks. For decades, he was Hollywood's go-to bad guy, the perfect villain whose creepy glance and crooked smile sent chills down audiences' spines. But behind that fierce on-screen persona was a man whose story was far more complex than anyone ever guessed. Few actors have been so typecast, or so perfectly cast, by something as simple as a physical trait. Jack's lazy eye wasn't a gimmick. It was a result of a childhood injury that ended up defining his entire career. It gave him a look that was equal parts unsettling and magnetic, a look that casting directors couldn't resist for westerns, crime dramas, and thrillers. But here's the twist. While Jack Elam made a career playing ruthless villains, the man himself was surprisingly different from the terrifying characters he portrayed. Off camera, Jack was known for his wit, charm, and a surprisingly warm personality. The intimidating gaze that scared millions in theaters wasn't who he really was. This duality made his story even more fascinating. Hollywood loved to put Jack in the toughest roles: the outlaw, the crooked gambler, the merciless gunman, roles that often demanded a ruthless presence. But his personal life and interactions with colleagues told a very different story, one filled with humor, kindness, and a deep love for the craft of acting. This contrast between his real self and his screen image made Jack Elam a unique figure in film history. But Jack's story doesn't stop at just being the bad guy. There are hidden layers, secrets, and struggles that he kept away from the cameras. Rumors of tensions on set, personal challenges, and a quieter life away from the spotlight reveal a man who lived a double life, one that Hollywood's public never fully saw. As we dive deeper into Jack Elam's life, we'll uncover the moments that shaped him, the battles he fought off-screen, and the surprising turns his career took. From his rise as the iconic villain to his later years reinventing himself as a comedic actor, Jack's journey is a captivating mix of grit, charm, and mystery. But that wasn't the whole story. What happened next would shock everyone. Jack Elam's story starts far from the dusty sets of Hollywood westerns. In a small town in Kansas, where he was born in 1918, what would eventually become his trademark lazy eye was actually the result of a childhood accident. When Jack was just a boy, he suffered severe injury to his eye after an infection, which left it permanently misaligned. At a time when medical options were limited, the damage was irreversible, shaping not only his appearance but the path of his entire life. Unlike many actors who might have been discouraged or hidden away because of such a noticeable feature, Jack embraced it. Or rather, the industry embraced him. His lazy eye was eerie, unsettling, and just strange enough to make casting directors take notice. It gave him an edge, a unique visual signature that would become his calling card in an industry always hungry for distinctive faces. Before Hollywood, Jack worked various jobs. He attended the University of Washington, where he earned a degree in engineering, a far cry from the rugged bad guys he would later play. He even briefly served in the military during World War II, but acting was always pulling him toward the spotlight. His big break came when he moved to California and started landing small parts in films. At first, he played minor roles, often uncredited. But that lazy eye made him memorable, and soon he was typecast as the villain, the crooked outlaw, the shady sidekick, the scoundrel you love to hate. It's worth noting that Jack never let the industry define him solely by his eye. He developed his craft, using his physicality, voice, and expressions to bring depth to roles that could have easily been one-dimensional. He knew how to play menace, but also humor and vulnerability, traits that set him apart from other character actors. Jack's lazy eye wasn't just a quirk. It was a tool he used with terrifying effect. When he gave you that slow, deliberate glance, it was like a warning, a promise that trouble was coming. Yet, behind that eye was a man with a deep understanding of human nature, able to blend menace with moments of unexpected charm. But even with his growing fame as the ultimate bad guy, Jack's early life was not without its struggles. That distinctive look made it hard for him to land leading man roles or romantic parts. He was often pigeonholed, which frustrated him but also pushed him to perfect his niche. He carved out a legendary career by leaning into the roles Hollywood gave him, and then making those roles unforgettable. His childhood injuries shaped his face, but also shaped his destiny. And as his star rose, Jack Elam proved that what could have been seen as a limitation became his greatest asset. What came next wasn't just about his look. It was about the ruthless characters he brought to life on screen. Jack Elam's rise in Hollywood was as unusual as his look. While most actors chase leading roles, Jack built a legendary career by embracing the villain's shadow. The crooked smile, the shifty glance, the cold menace that lurked behind his lazy eye. It was a niche few could fill, and Jack owned it like no other. In the 1940s and 50s, Westerns dominated the silver screen, and Jack quickly became a staple of the genre. He wasn't a clean-cut hero. He was a guy audiences loved to hate. His characters were ruthless outlaws, crooked gamblers, and cold-blooded henchmen, roles that required chilling presence. Jack's physical appearance and his intense, slow-burning stare gave those parts an unforgettable edge. Some of his earliest notable roles include appearances in classics like High Noon and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Though often cast in supporting roles, Jack's presence was magnetic. He could convey menace without saying a word, just with a glance or a slight twist of his lips. Directors and producers recognized his ability to bring tension and drama to every scene he entered. Jack Elam was more than just a scary face. He had a rare gift for timing and subtlety. His delivery was understated but impactful. Unlike the loud, over-the-top villains, Jack played his characters with a quiet, simmering intensity that made his menace feel real. This approach made him stand out in an era where many villains were broad caricatures. His work wasn't limited to Westerns. Jack took on roles in crime dramas and thrillers, bringing the same chilling energy to urban settings. But it was the Westerns that cemented his status. He starred alongside legends like John Wayne and James Stewart, often stealing scenes with his unique blend of creepiness and dark humor. Despite the tough guy roles, Jack's reputation off-screen was surprisingly different. Co-stars often spoke of his kindness and sense of humor. He was a professional on set, dedicated to his craft, and never let his villainous roles define who he was personally. This contrast only added to his mystique. How could a man who terrified audiences be so likable in real life? Jack's ability to stay relevant for decades speaks to his talent and adaptability. As the Western genre evolved and eventually declined, he found ways to keep working, often shifting into more comedic or quirky roles later on. But during his peak, Jack Elam was the embodiment of the classic Hollywood bad guy. He wasn't just playing villains. He was redefining what it meant to be the bad guy on screen. His characters were layered, unpredictable, and always memorable. That slow, unsettling stare became his signature, a chilling promise that something dark was lurking beneath the surface. But the man behind those eyes had secrets, and a double life that few knew about. And what happened next would change the way people saw Jack Elam forever. Jack Elam's on-screen presence was the stuff of nightmares, a cold, calculating villain with a gaze that seemed to pierce straight through you. But those who work with him often tell a completely different story. Behind the fearsome facade was a man who was surprisingly warm, generous, and even downright funny. This stark contrast between his film persona and his real-life personality is part of what makes Jack Elam's stories so compelling. Actors, directors, and crew who spent time with Jack frequently describe him as a gentle soul who loved to joke around between takes. While audiences knew him as a ruthless outlaw, his colleagues saw a man who was approachable and kind-hearted. Jack had a quick wit and a mischievous sense of humor, often lightening the mood on tense film sets. His laughter was infectious, and he had an uncanny ability to make people feel comfortable despite his intimidating looks. Jack was also deeply passionate about his craft. He didn't take his typecasting lightly. Instead, he treated every role as an opportunity to explore new depths. His villains weren't just flat bad guys. They had quirks, nuances, and sometimes even moments of vulnerability. Jack's dedication to bringing authenticity to his characters earned him respect in Hollywood circles, even if he wasn't a household name like some of his co-stars. Off camera, Jack Elam's life was marked by simplicity. He enjoyed fishing, spending time outdoors, and cherished quiet moments away from the spotlight. Those who knew him well say he was far from the ruthless villain he played. Instead, he was a family man and a loyal friend. But Jack's life wasn't without its challenges. Like many actors typecast into villain roles, he struggled with being seen as more than just a bad guy. This pigeonholing frustrated him, and sometimes left him feeling trapped. He wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, not just as a creepy-eyed henchman. This internal conflict added a layer of complexity to his life that few outside his inner circle understood. There were also moments when Jack's reputation for toughness on screen clashed with his real personality. Rumors circulated about occasional tensions on set, fueled by misunderstandings or the demands of filming intense scenes. However, these incidents were usually isolated and overshadowed by the affection many had for him. Despite these challenges, Jack Elam remained a beloved figure among his peers. His genuine kindness and professionalism helped him maintain strong relationships throughout his career. Many actors who played heroes alongside him recall that his presence made scenes more authentic and gripping. The duality of Jack's life, between the terrifying villain and the kind-hearted man, shows how appearances can be deceiving. He lived two lives, one that scared millions on screen and one that brought laughter and warmth off-screen. But there's more to Jack's story. Hidden chapters filled with secrets and personal struggles that most people never heard about. What came next would reveal a different side of Jack Elam, one that few expected. Behind Jack Elam's chilling villainous roles and his warm off-screen persona lay a life more complicated than most ever imagined. Beneath the surface of the classic Hollywood bad guy was a man living a double life, juggling public perceptions and private struggles that rarely made it into the spotlight. For starters, Jack was notoriously private about his personal life. Unlike many stars who sought attention or embraced the tabloids, he kept his relationships and family matters tightly under wraps. This secrecy fueled rumors and speculation, especially because Hollywood was full of gossip mills hungry to unearth any scandal tied to a recognizable face. One whispered secret was his battle with health issues later in life, which he managed quietly. The grueling demand of acting in physically intense roles, combined with the pressure of maintaining his unique image, took a toll. While no major headlines broke about Jack's health, close friends later revealed that he faced serious medical challenges, often pushing himself to continue working even when it would have been easier to step back. More controversial were the murmurs about tensions on certain film sets. Though Jack was respected professionally, a few directors and actors hinted at clashes that stemmed from his strong opinions about how his characters should be portrayed. Some considered him difficult or stubborn, especially when it came to protecting the integrity of the villains he played. These disagreements, however, were rarely publicized and often resolved quietly behind the scenes. Jack's double life also involved a surprising shift in the 1970s and 80s when he reinvented himself as a comedic actor. This change baffled some fans who only knew him as a sinister presence. Yet, it revealed a side of Jack that was eager to break free from the narrow confines of his earlier typecasting. His natural humor and timing made him a hit in lighter roles, and this transformation added a new dimension to his career. Even so, some longtime fans struggled to reconcile the jovial, self-deprecating comedian with the menacing villain they'd grown to fear. This tension highlights the complex layers of Jack's identity, a man who refused to be boxed in by a single image, but who also carried the burden of that image wherever he went. Jack's personal life was just as complex. Though rarely discussed, rumors circulated about strained relationships and bouts of loneliness. The very qualities that made him compelling on screen, his intensity, his sharp gaze, sometimes created distance between him and others in real life. Behind the scenes, he navigated the challenges of balancing fame, privacy, and his own sense of self. Yet, despite these hidden struggles, Jack Elam's legacy remains untarnished in the eyes of most fans and colleagues. His ability to captivate audiences with a glance, a sneer, or a subtle smirk set a standard for villainy that few have matched. But Jack's story is more than just the sum of these contradictions. It's a tale of resilience, reinvention, and the complicated nature of fame. What happened next would finally show the world the full spectrum of Jack Elam's life. As the golden age of Westerns faded and Hollywood's taste shifted, many actors known for classic villain roles found themselves struggling to stay relevant. Jack Elam, however, was far from done. Instead of fading into obscurity, he reinvented himself, showing surprising versatility that few expected from the iconic bad guy with the lazy eye. In the 1970s and 80s, Jack began embracing more comedic roles. His natural timing and self-aware humor transformed him into a lovable character actor. This reinvention allowed him to reach new audiences who might never have connected with his earlier, darker performances. Suddenly, Jack was making people laugh rather than shiver in fear. One of the most notable examples of this shift was his work in films like the Cannonball Run series, where he played eccentric, quirky characters that showcased his playful side. His trademark lazy eye, once a symbol of menace, now became a source of comic charm. Audiences loved the way Jack could poke fun at his own image, turning what was once intimidating into something approachable and funny. This period also saw Jack working more frequently in television, where his character roles were in high demand. He appeared in numerous popular TV shows, often as the oddball or the offbeat villain with twist. This steady work helped keep his career alive and thriving well into his later years. But Jack's reinvention wasn't just about changing roles. It was about reclaiming control over his career and legacy by stepping into comedy. He refused to be boxed in by the narrow typecasting that had defined much of his earlier work. He showed that he was more than just a scary face. He was an actor with depth, range, and an undeniable charm. Despite his professional success, Jack's later years were marked by the quiet challenges that come with aging in Hollywood. Health issues occasionally slowed him down, but he remained dedicated to his craft, working as long as his body would allow. Friends described those years as a mix of contentment and reflection, a time when Jack could finally appreciate the full arc of his career. What stands out is how Jack Elam embraced every chapter of his journey, from the tough guy villain to the comedic character actor, with the same passion and professionalism. His ability to adapt to changing times without losing the essence of who he was is a testament to his resilience. Even as the years passed, Jack's iconic presence never faded. His lazy eye, once a source of fear, became a symbol of a career built on embracing uniqueness and defying expectations. He left behind a legacy of unforgettable characters who still haunt and entertain audiences today. Jack Elam's story is one of transformation, proof that even the most typecast actors can rewrite their narratives and surprise the world. And finally, it's a reminder that behind every famous face lies a deeper story, sometimes darker, sometimes lighter, but always worth telling. Jack Elam's life and career are a study in contrasts. A chilling villain on screen and a warm, funny man off it, a feared bad guy and a beloved colleague. A man haunted by typecasting yet determined to break free. His story isn't just about playing the villain. It's about the struggle behind the scenes, the hidden layers beneath a lazy eye that became Hollywood's most unforgettable signature. From his early days as the go-to Western outlaw to his surprising shift into comedy, Jack's journey was anything but predictable. He didn't just accept the roles he was given. He owned them, reshaped them, and later reinvented himself on his own terms. This resilience and willingness to evolve kept him relevant in an industry known for discarding actors as they age. But perhaps the most compelling part of Jack's story is the man behind the characters. The quiet strength he showed amid personal struggles, his dedication to his craft, and the warmth that contrasted so sharply with his on-screen menace. He lived a double life in many ways, balancing the fear he inspired with the kindness he shared. Jack Elam's legacy is not just in the films and TV shows he graced, but in the way he challenged Hollywood's narrow definitions of typecasting. He proved that you can be more than what people expect, that even the bad guy can surprise you with layers of complexity and heart. In the end, Jack's story invites us to look beyond the surface. Behind the infamous stare was a man who embraced his uniqueness, faced his challenges head-on, and left a lasting mark on Hollywood history. So next time you see that lazy eye creeping into a scene, remember, it's not just a scary villain you're watching. It's Jack Elam, the actor who lived a double life and refused to be boxed in, whose career was as rich and unpredictable as the characters he portrayed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Jack Elam's fascinating life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories that peel back the layers behind Hollywood's most intriguing figures.